have a two-time defending champion, 3 new teams, a new best-of-3 format, and an all-new battle theater. The fight for worlds is on, and the North American LCS Summer Split starts right now.
You'll never take me alive.
So our first game of the split is versus TSM, and I think we're all pretty excited to prove ourselves yet again.
And they're gonna walk to their second consecutive North American LCS Championship.
I'ma keep on fighting till the day I die.
TSM versus CLG is always a hype match.
I'm still pretty salty that we lost in the finals by 1 game, like by 1 team fight actually.
He's trying to reset. Going in for the reset. Stick save. They can go ahead.
And watching these two titans play against each other is always a treat.
They want nothing more than to start the season by beating us.
I kind of just want to crush from Tio and get on with it.
You'll never take me alive.
Welcome to the 2016 NALCS Summer Split. Tonight, we're streaming from the all-new Battle Theater in Los Angeles, California. Now, as we sing around the studio here, we're going to get a look at some of the fans making waves, and of course, Pastry Time and Kobe, they're getting ready to give us the cast on the day. Pastry Time making his debut back on stage. 2-time MVP Bjergsen gearing up alongside NALCS Kills leader Doublelift and sporting those brand new, very fresh looking jerseys. Of course, they're going up against CLG and spring final MVP Stixxay, getting ready to ride with the guy a lot of people consider to be the best player in NA. That would be Afromu. Hello, everyone. I am James Dash Patterson, ready to go. With me here on the analyst desk are some faces you might recognize: Aiden Zyrene Moon and, of course, Joshua Jatleesman. Gentlemen, how do you feel about the new digs?
I like all the screens.
We got plenty of them. I'll tell you that much.
We should do 3 streams at the same time. You can easily fit it in all of these.
Jat's ambitious, very ambitious.
I'm gonna need more monitors at my desk if that's what's gonna happen.
Just work in here.
Right. No. Let's get through day 1, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, this season, we're bringing you more games than ever before, as all NALCS contests will now be a best-of-3 formats. Gentlemen, how do we expect this to kind of change the landscape of the North American LCS?
Well, let's just talk about best of 1s. They're incredibly volatile, so moving to the best of 3s, it gives us a much better understanding of where these teams actually stand and who's in contention for that number 1 spot. Previously, teams only played 18 games. Now they're playing anywhere from 36 to 54 games each. It's a much larger sample size, and is going to test teams' flexibility with their players, as well as their coaching staff, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to how this affects our perception of teams. Like a team that is Immortals that was 17-1 in the regular season and then crashed out in the playoffs. You're like, they were never tested in a best-of series. They never had to adapt. But theoretically, in a longer season like this with more games, same actual calendar dates, but more games, maybe they're going to be a more complete team, and maybe every team's going to be more complete, or fall apart faster during the regular season.
Right? Who knows? More chances to fall apart. Well, anyway, that's the format. Now let's deal with the teams, starting with our 2-time defending champions, Counterlogic Gaming, who are looking to become the first North American team to three-peat as LCS champions.
Yeah, they're coming off of MSI finals, and they shocked the world and actually represented NA the way that a lot of fans were saying, you need to take this region seriously. They earned the respect of a lot of Korean teams. They earned the respect of the Chinese teams as well, and a lot of people were hailing them, saying, these guys are really good. Watch out for that bottom lane. Yeah. Now expectations are really high for CLG for the first time in years.
Exactly, and I want to see how they respond to these expectations, because last split they kept talking about how they were fueled by people doubting them and how they always just wanted to get people to believe in them. But everyone believes in them now. So what are you going to do? Like, yeah, we're good. Let's just continue being good, guys. It's a little bit different mentally, and they're going to have to make that switch and continue to perform at the highest level.
Exactly. Fans of CLG right now are like, yeah, but hold on, because they kind of fuel themselves off of being doubted.
Yeah, they're the underdogs.
Right?
But when they come in as the favorites, how do you approach that?
And of course, challenging CLG for that crown are several very strong contenders that the champs can't overlook. And I want to start with Immortals, who dominated the regular split last split.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say Immortals are underdogs coming into the split. I actually still think they're the best team in the LCS. So sorry, CLG, you're the champions, but I think Immortals had a better regular season, and I put them a little bit above CLG right now because, let's be honest, they had the best regular season in the history of the LCS. I think they slipped up. I don't think they didn't make any roster changes because they didn't have to. And I think every single one of these players on this team can still perform at an extremely high level. And I can't wait to see how Immortals adapts to best of threes.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a bad day for them, and we need to see more because they bounced back immediately. Huni started playing tanks, exactly. But I also want to talk about another team here because it's a team that actually 3-0'd Immortals and then went on to take CLG, who went to the finals of MSI, to 5 games. And TSM, right? TSM, they are very hungry right now because, like Double Lift said, one team fight cost them going to MSI. So they made a change in the bottom lane. Biofrost is now in, new rookie. They're going to try to grow him. And they also brought Weldon on, which was a huge investment by the coaching staff to bring this guy on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it's easy to forget how close the playoffs were in North America. Like, everyone was really close, and we'll see if CLG leaped ahead of the NALCS in the time between MSI, or if they're still on the same level as all those other teams in North America.
Speaking of closeness with CLG in the playoffs, Liquid, another one of the teams that took CLG to 5 games in that playoff run. However, Jat, coming into this summer split, they've made some roster changes that are shocking.
Yeah, pretty shocking news 2 weeks ago when Dardoch was suspended, so it's not like a full-blown roster change.
Right.
But coming into the season, they're going to be running Moon in the jungle. And when you consider the work that Dardoch did statistically early game for Team Liquid, being one of the best early game junglers, compare that to Moon when he was on Energy, who was one of the worst, that's going to be a really difficult transition for Team Liquid to make right off the bat, and the higher expectations are significantly dampened for TL, and I think they're going to have a bit of trouble coming out of the gate.
Yeah, and I do actually want to clarify here because he's suspended by Team Liquid. He's not suspended by a league ruling at all. It was their decision to do this, and a lot of people are going, well, they might be shooting themselves in the foot right now at the start of the season, getting off to a bad start because Moon, like you said, complete opposite.
And we can only speculate so much, but the fact that they did the internal suspension, you wonder if there are other problems with that team that they have to deal with as well.
Now, lastly, I want to talk about one more team in Cloud9 approaching this split with a 10-man roster.
Woo, 10 guys.
10-man roster for Team Liquid. They eventually took the players that they really wanted on that squad and made a 5-man roster.
Right.
But Cloud9 have so much talent on this 10-man roster. I'm expecting them to actually swap a lot of people back and forth. Bunny Fufu is slated to start for them, I believe. And also, this is huge because when they took High out of the roster before, everybody's like, bring High back.
Is he going to stay out this time? Like, what is actually going to happen? I think Cloud9 has a really big challenge ahead of them trying to find synergy in a team that was normally just led by one guy. Now they're going to try and mix all these other players in. It's going to be tough.
A lot of questions to be answered there. We'll see if their coach, Reaper, can lead them through the summer split. Now, joining those big names are 3 new teams looking to make their mark on the league. And with that, they are bringing some experienced LCS talent along for the ride, as well as some newcomers. So let's run through those teams real quickly.
The big one for me is Apex, who's also sporting a 10-man roster that's, once again, chock full of talent, right? They have people like Diamond Prox on their bench, Shifter, and so they also have a coach as former All-Star St. Vicious, and as well as Xpecial, who was on #1 team, Keen, who had a #1 place for a good while during a regular season, and there's so many people on this team.
Yeah, Apollo, Shifter.
Exactly. I expect there to be some growing pains for them, figuring out what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, and then there's the other 2 new teams that are still going to be hard to track really at the start of the season, and I expect these teams aren't on their final rosters. I hate to say that to the teams that are like, oh yeah, I'm on the team now, it's the final roster, but with the way these teams were put together, it seems like a bit of a mismatch of a lot of just random players that were near the bottom of the LCS. So I want to see how these teams develop. If the synergy clicks right away, that's great, but these teams are all going to be trying to fight for that security in the LCS more than anything at first off, and that requires a lot of roster changes.
Yeah, for clarity, Phoenix won. The names that you're going to remember are Pyrian, Mash, Gate, and then on the side of Team Envy, you're going to have the likes of Seraph and Ninja. Moving ahead, though, the teams aren't the only things that went through changes in the offseason. The game itself, League of Legends, went through plenty of changes. 6-9 and 6-10 bringing with it an immense amount of stuff. So I want to start primarily with the changes to the Drake, the Elder Dragon, and the Rift Herald. How do we expect teams to play around these global objectives?
Yeah, I think the new dragons are the most impactful change of all, and everyone seems to have their own tier list of like, this dragon's not useful, this dragon is useful. Cloud Dragon, Ocean Dragon, Mountain Dragon, Infernal Dragon, I think they're all better than the previous drakes that we have had in the game, and they're all strong at certain points. So I think Cloud and Ocean are strongest early. I think Infernal and Mountain are stronger late. And I think they are the most important point of contention we'll be seeing in almost every game.
Yeah, and when you take them, you eventually get Elder Dragon, and then it actually buffs the Elder Dragon buff. So every dragon is definitely worth taking. Before, it was like #1 matters and #5 matters. Now, we're seeing actually jumps in statistics here. Like if you take the first 2 dragons, Previously, your win rate was 71% in spring. Now it's 79% in summer so far. And if you get the first 3, it went from 84% to 94%. That is absolutely insane.
Only one team in Korea, Europe, or the LMS has actually lost the game after taking the first 3 dragons so far. So,
all right, so a
very
lot of priority
powerful.
placed on those Drakes as well as the Elder Dragon. Now let's flip to the top side of the map. Rift Herald, what do we make of that change?
So the buff was completely changed, and now it's more of a solo split pusher buff, but it's incredibly potent when you get it. It's very hard to get. You have to dedicate 2 to 3 people to do it, and it's only pre-20 minutes, right? So if your team is able to do it and you actually go towards that objective, you're probably making a mistake more often than not because there's usually a better thing to do. There's usually a better thing to like gank, get ward control in their jungle, and just looking at the statistics, it's taken in less than 50% of the games.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when it's taken, it's 15-4.
Exactly.
So
the jury's
But it's
still
so,
out
yeah, I was going to say, is that
on how good Rift Herald
indicative
is.
of the fact that these are teams taking it who already have great enough advantages
Exactly.
that it's kind of a free objective for them?
Yeah, we played 20 games in Europe the last 2 days, and 4 of those games someone took a Rift Herald. So, like, especially in Europe, teams were not prioritizing it.
Right.
To me, the jury is still out because I think with a split pushing strategy, it can be powerful. But when you look at the impact the Drakes have on the game, it's really hard to argue that you should be going for Rift Herald.
All right, we'll see how the Rift Herald evolves, but Drakes seem to be a focus. That covers neutral objectives. I want to bounce back to you guys one more time, though, with any other major changes that you guys see affecting play coming into summer. Obviously, the mages is going to be significant.
Yeah, I think everything's significant. I think the Drakes are the most significant, but we have to remind ourselves that these are the biggest midseason changes we have ever had in professional play. It feels like a brand new season with the level of change that happened in the league, and there was less of a warm-up period than you would have in a preseason where teams have a couple, like basically a whole month to come into it. So I'm expecting a little bit of slow adaptation from some teams, and I definitely don't think it's figured out yet. So adaptation is going to be rewarded heavily early on in the season in the standings.
Exactly. People with best of 3s, hopefully they explore more because we're still seeing a lot of the same things, but we're seeing some champions that were changed kind of shoved in there. We're seeing Vladimir make his appearance. We're seeing Victor. We're seeing Swain make his appearance as well. A lot of E champions.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Svein.
You know. Anyway, with all of this in mind, then let's go ahead and take a look at the new stream schedule that's going to be hitting you guys this summer. Starting off on Fridays, we'll kick things off with 4 teams. Today, you'll see CLG taking on TSM in a rematch of our spring championship in our match of the week, followed by a contest between newcomers Team Envy and Energy. On Saturdays, we open up into our new 2-stream format. Tomorrow, click over to NALCS1 for all the Battle Arena action with Cloud9's new lineup going up against Last Blitz Powerhouse Immortals, followed by Team Envy versus Liquid. You can also choose to check out the matches taking place in the Battle Feeder on NALCS2, where Echo Fox will take on Phoenix 1 with Apex and Energy competing in the second series. Now, we'll be keeping you updated on games from both streams as they happen here on the Analyst Desk, which means this is now a spoiler zone. So as a viewer, you have the control to see the matches that matter the most to you. If you want to watch every game unspoiled, save the Analyst Desk segment of your VODs until after you've seen every matchup. Again, final warning, when you see this face right here, there will be spoilers. Spoilers such as Snape kills Dumbledore, Darth Vader is Luke's father, and the Red Wedding gets a little bloody. There you have it. Now, new to this split are changes to MVP honors. And here at the NALCS, gone is the OP5. And in its place, we'll now recognize a player of the game. So, Jack, could you give me a quick rundown on how that's going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold the door. OP5 is gone. From here, we have player of the game after every single game. That's decided by the casters as well as certain members of the broadcast team. As far as regular season MVP, those player of the games will tally and factor in slightly to the end of season regular season MVP award, which will still be a combination of ballots from the broadcast team, which includes the casters, media, and the teams themselves. So that's just a slight change to the overall MVP formula, but mainly watch out for those player of the games, which will be giving after every game and tallying at the end of the week.
Now, a lot more factors going into the MVP, but a little bit more clarity on how that's going to work out for us. Now, as we saw up behind us, though, we already saw 6 of our MVPs. I know, Irene, you made the note earlier today that we've only ever had junglers and mid laners. What's that about?
I mean, mid laners make a lot of great plays, and junglers, I don't know how many we have on the broadcast team. But
Also,
they're really great.
2 Bjergsons, right?
Two Bjergsons.
Two Bjergsons.
Yeah, so we'll see if maybe an ADC can, or I would love to see a support swing through and grab MVP for the entire split.
Anything can happen, right? Like, it depends how the game changes as well. Whichever role can have the highest impact on the game, or just like what types of teams play. Like, Huni could be close. Depends what kind of split he has. There's a lot of different people that can be MVP candidates, and it'll be cool to track at least a very small part of that as Player of the Game awards get handed out throughout the season.
9 weeks to go till we get there. Right now it's week 1. It's time for game 1. We're almost ready to get into that game, so let's hand it off to our casters.
Thanks, Dash. I'm the man from Down Under, Julian Time Guy, here with Sam Kirby
We're ready.
Penzler to bring you guys the first game from the all-new Battle Theater. We're starting the summer split off with a bang as two-time defending champions Counterlogic Gaming take on rival TSM in a rematch of the white-knuckled Spring Split Championship final that won a full 5 games.
Yeah, it is kind of easy for people to forget how close those finals were. TSM and Double Lift talked about it, it's especially one team fight away from being able to go to MSI. But as we know, CLG were the ones to take that victory, and they could be the first North American LCS team to three-peat if they become the Summer Split champions here. And CLG, there's obviously a lot of hype around them coming into this match because they got to go to MSI and they performed so well at MSI, surprising everyone, getting second place, and also surprising people by team fighting extremely well, which is something that's really changed in this CLG TSM dynamic here.
Yeah, and on the other side of the matchup, TSM have had a lot to think about while CLG were off competing in Shanghai. TSM have been boot camping in Korea over the break and have tried out some new options at support to replace Yellowstar, who returned to Europe and his former home Fnatic.
That's light. There were a lot of rumors circling around TSM during the mid-season break, and ultimately it was Biofrost who emerged as Yellowstar's replacement. Now this guy, everybody's confident in his mechanical skill, his skill to play the individual champion and the support role. The thing that comes into consideration here is they had a lot of problems with shot calling last year. Maybe sometimes removing one voice from the communication can actually clean it up. With Bjergsen and Doublelift both talking a lot, maybe Biofrost will be able to follow along and it will clean up the execution there from TSM. But I have to say, for TSM fans, a lot of people are really writing them off in this matchup just because CLG are coming from MSI with so much success. But I think that's a mistake because TSM, as we said, they were so close to getting it themselves, and they feel like they've made an upgrade in their roster switch.
Well, we'll have to see because it is always a challenge to nail the team dynamic after a roster shakeup. But here's all-star TSM mid laner Bjergsen's thoughts on playing with their rookie support.
Playing with Biofrost is definitely different than playing with Bora or Yellowstar. Yellowstar came in with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, whereas with Biofrost, we kind of have to feed him that knowledge. He has a really strong base in terms of mechanics and just kind of basic game understanding, but we have to teach him the game at a deeper level. But the thing about Biofrost is just he learns so quickly and he picks up on things really fast. We can give him a new responsibility, and in the next game, I can already tell he communicates differently. He's picking up on things really quickly, and it's really motivating and nice to play with such a fresh talent that's able to pick up on things really fast. So I think he's just a player with a really solid base, and I think it's really going to come down to TSM as an org and our team to train him and make him the best player in NA, or the best support.
Well, some nice words there, but the newbie's got a lot of work to do, and of course we're going to go straight to our featured matchup, which, surprise, it is going to be the 2v2 in the bottom lane. These players have such an opportunity to make an impact. It's Doublelift versus rival Afro in some ways.
Yeah.
Stixxay, of course, after such a huge effort at MSI, and the new guy, Bio.
I mean, yeah, pretty much anybody you pair with either Doublelift or Afromu takes a spot in one of the top bottom lanes of the North American LCS. Stixxay has proven himself. He's now got this international experience, and he has a lot of confidence from all the people at MSI who were complimenting him. But Doublelift is an AD carry that loves to attack players like that. If another AD carry is getting praised, Doublelift is the one to take that charge and try and take him down so that he can then reclaim his position as best North American AD carry. He's one that loves challenges.
Certainly is, but we are about ready to play some League of Legends, so let's check out the rosters coming into this Game 1, starting with TSM, Team Solo Mid. They're a fan favorite, and with good reason. We'll have a look at their lineup. In the top lane, it is Haunter. Their jungler, Spence Garant. Their mid lane, All-Star Bjergsen. Very big AD carry with a big mouth and Doublelift. Support Biofrost, the new guy, and of course, Coach Path behind them.
Yep, and coming out of the red corner, it's going to be Counterlogic Gaming. Up top is Darshan. In the jungle, Xmithy. Mid Huhi, AD carry Stixxay, support Afromu, and Coach Zix on stage with them.
And of course, it's not just the teams that have sort of changed things around. CLG unchanged, TSM a slight change there in the bottom lane, but we heard it from the desk, Kirby. Lots of changes in this particular patch as well.
Yeah.
We're about to get in a champ slate relatively soon. Wonder what we'll see from these two in our first game of the best of
I'm
three.
always so excited to see Bjergsen play, just because as an individual player, Bjergsen is one of the most spectacular that we have here in North America. And there have been a whole bunch of mid lane mage changes. I'm really curious to see what he can get his hands on in the mid lane, and if that kind of defines the way that TSM are going to play this game. But another really good point that you have to look at in Champion Select nowadays is the importance of the support picks and how many support picks people are using to make counter picks, not only for their lane, but also for the entire team. Aframu is actually the guy who's been defining the worldwide support meta. Him and the rest of North American supports, heading over to MSI. And meanwhile, Brilefrost, this is a guy who's been lauded for his ability to learn new champions and learn new strategies. All of the guys on TSM very happy to compliment this guy in that aspect. So very curious to see how those two are going to match up, and if CLG save their last pick for the actual counter pick on support.
Well, we'll have to find out because we are into champ slate now. We'll see what these two teams have for game one. Do not forget, not only is it a great rivalry we get to look at, but we get at least 2 games between these two teams. It is absolutely awesome. Kindred Echo, though, banned away from TSM, and CLG take the other strong jungler out of the pool. It is Nidalee that will be that ban, and Rice actually soon to follow. So pretty standard stuff so far.
Yeah, usually when we see one of these two junglers banned, the other one is quick to follow, because you don't want to give that one away as a first pick unless you're getting something extremely strong on the backswing. The other thing that has not come up yet is Vladimir. Swain definitely rising a lot. Oh, there's Vladimir. Huh? And in the win rate, actually might be the single biggest change in win rate over one patch I've ever seen. More than 10%.
Wow.
On average. But let's see here. CLG, what will the last one be? They could try and target Bjergsen. Who he is very interesting to me, because he was one of the guys, especially at MSI, I was scared for him, honestly, but he was able to hold his own versus top mid laners in the world, and he was one of the first guys to venture out to the Aurelion Sol, the new champions as they come up. He's definitely one to jump on that train as quickly as possible.
Been watching Huhi and really enjoying his team fighting more than anything else, so we'll see what he gets his hands on. Zed, though, was a target against Bjergsen, so they'll take that off. That's been a champion that's sort of making the rounds. The current hover, though, for TSM is one of the most standard picks, and they'll lock it in. Lucian, such a good AD carry.
Ridiculous right now. And he's probably going to go with that Ghost Blade into Black Cleaver build. This is patch 6.10, by the way. This is not the current patch live that just got released. But yeah, Lucian, a powerhouse. That is definitely a strong champion that TSM can try and get double lift ahead early. And if you go that build, the Black Cleaver plus the Ghost Blade, it's such a early power spike that TSM can actually push the tempo of the game.
I don't think I've seen an AD carry get so frequently banned than I have in the last few matches. But Smith is actually going to lock in Rek'Sai, yeah.
The Riven too? Not quite sure if they're still blinking. They're probably going to switch those around. But I'm getting excited because the Black Cleaver, we touched on it with the Lucian, but it actually got a huge buff. And it was originally aimed at the top lane bruisers and tanks that kind of, or not tanks, the fighters. Damage dealing, exactly, the fighters. From the top lane, like Renekton and stuff like that. And Riven would be one of the two, but they're not going to pick it this early. It is instead going to be that Victor who got the mage update. Now a lot more damage over time on the ultimate. Still has the boss wave clear, and all around solid pick in the mid lane. So I think that Huhi will be very confident now that he has that, because he doesn't have to play aggressively in lane. He can just try and wave clear.
This feels like they've traded Lucian for Victor in a lot of ways here in the draft, although TSM can actually hold some of their picks. They'll lock in Karma and the Maokai.
Yeah, that could be a support Karma, because support Karma has been on the rise as well as far as the ranged champions go. But also Bjergsen has a pentakill we always like to talk about whenever TSM picks up the Karma. So it's a possibility of a mid lane pick here as well. It won't catch CLG by surprise, because they've obviously already locked in Victor, but might be able to switch something up for the bottom lane.
Speaking of switch ups, he's at least going to flush the Aurelion Sol.
I think he's just answering. Earlier TSM were hovering on the Aurelion Sol in Champ Select. Hanser was doing it, and so he's just answering here a little bit. Looks like it might be the Fizz, though.
We've seen quite a lot of this champion in the top lane, actually, which is where we expect it to go, given that there's already Victor locked in there for CLG. Jixay, though, hovering his favorite champion, which happens to be Warwick, but they'll lock in Nami and Ezreal. So Aframu still in the range support.
Yeah, I mean, Aframu's been actually putting a lot of time in on Nami on his stream. He's been playing a lot of games, you know, so even in the off time, not just in scrims, he's been putting in a lot of time on this champion. And Nami plus Ezreal gives you a lot of control, because even before Ezreal gets Iceborne Gauntlet, he can have a slow on the autos, and he can you know, try and work around any sort of aggressive jungle ganks towards the bottom lane. It's always also a very safe bottom lane there.
Yeah, again, sort of another trade. Lucian is very mobile, very heavy damage dealing. Ezreal, not so much on the damage front, but certainly very mobile.
Yeah, Ezreal and Lucian are pretty much the two premier AD carries right now, so it's not really a surprise. So we're not freaking out by the CLG second round or third round picks here.
All right, this may be a little different, though. Zillion and Graves will actually finish things off for TSM.
Okay, so Bjergsen whipping out the Zillion. That is going to be very scary here, considering Maokai works really well with the champion. I mean, you can deliver the Twisted Advance that much easier with the speed up. Plus, if Maokai is able to stay in front and absorb all the damage, then it's an easy revive target. Double lift and now Spenskeren, that he has picked up the Graves, are going to be in there on those sort of mid-range AD carries. Both of them looking to get right behind Maokai in there for the brawl. And it does look like this is a perfect comp for TSM to go hard on the mid game. They want to try and push really hard in that 20 to 30 minute mark to try and end the game there. They have a lot of power there that is going to spike.
Yeah, and again with Nidalee and Kindred banned away, Sven definitely likes to default to Graves. So I think both junglers have probably got what they want with Smithy taking that Rek'Sai. CLG, though, one last pick to lock in.
Yeah, Smithy's been a long time Rek'Sai player. Definitely a lot of long-time Rek'Sai players have been returning to the champion, going that Cinderhawk into either Black Cleaver or the Titanic Hydra for a little bit of extra damage, or even pure tank Rek'Sai is back in a fairly big way. But with the Trundle being picked up, CLG adds some split push options to their lineup here. Actually pretty strong, since they do have Ezreal and Victor for the 4-man squad. They can wave clear, they even have a bit of cross map. To try and allow Darshan to get some solo time. But TSM are going to do everything in their power to try and push a lot of those mid-game team fights, and they've got to speed up to do it. So TSM or CLG are going to have to be very careful about controlling the vision and options for teleports for TSM.
And again, feels like it was just a mid-season invitational between and these two teams, sort of picking up where they left off as far as things go. Not too many surprises yet for this patch, but these two teams, I think, playing comfortably for game one.
Definitely. This is the reason why this is most people's favorite rivalry, and especially my favorite rivalry, not only because it's been so long, but also every new player that puts on either a TSM or CLG jersey picks up right where their predecessors left off and continue with the passion of this rivalry.
Certainly do. And as the players load onto Summoner's Rift, get on Twitter and let us know who you think will take this game on with either hashtag TSM win or hashtag CLG win. These fans are very loud for both these sides. I'm sure we'll be hearing chants all night long. I'm sure they're very vocal. We'd love to know your thoughts on the match, but it all starts here with game number one. And as I already said, it's a pleasure just to cast these two teams, but it's definitely a pleasure to cast at least 2 games.
All right, yes. Kicking it off in style. We've had so many North American LCS splits started off this exact same way with TSM CLG. The new wrinkle here is going to be best of 3. TSM chance right off the bat. Well, I love how that's become a worldwide standard.
Yep. No matter where you are, which teams are playing, or what game it is sometimes. People just like to chant TSM, but we're going to see the move out onto the Rift. Aframu can just see what he can discover. Sven actually setting up in a pretty standard spot, so it looks like everyone's just fanned out.
Converge here.
Getting collapsed on Sven. They already shot a bullet into Smithy. Looks like more people coming down as Darshan actually going to take a bite out of it. Sven getting slowed down. Damage is there, but I don't think they can do enough here, but Sven gets chunked.
It is plenty of time for him to recall, so it's only a minute now, so Sven should be fine. Plus he's jungler. He had the refillable potion, just chugging on that, so doesn't seem like TSM lost really anything from this. CLG going to try and get a half ward in there. It's mediocre inside the blue buff jungle here of TSM, so very small information advantage here for CLG as we started off, and it looks like they are going to do the blind swap heading up top here, which will be called by TSM.
Yep, everyone moving topside. There's Double Lift and new support Biofrost going to make his way into his first 2v2.
So excited to see these guys go up against each other because, you know, there was a lot of, you know, MVP talk earlier and how, you know, the desk wants to see some supports get that. Aframo has been a guy who's always been, you know, in the conversation and got and received votes for that over the years. We'll see if they can actually match up, though. It looks like Aframo and Stixxay are going to be fairly late because they were going for that invade, and Double Lift gets an early experience advantage here as he soaks up these melees. It's going to just last hit them, so the wave doesn't push too hard. And yes, 2 and 3 all denied from CLG, so a good early start here from the TSM duo. Firefrost also gonna miss, just barely miss the first key.
I like that from Afro. Just hitting S, making sure he stops, says, hey, I know exactly the range of this ability. Don't even think about it.
I can see the circle on the ground.
Getting aggressive in. And does poke out Afro, who does have that heal leveled up. So things should be okay, but they will get an early lead and experience at least. You can see Double Lift playing very aggressive as per usual.
Yeah, because they got the early advantage there with the melees, they're going to try to play up in front. It is all on Karma to land the poke here, though, because CLG do have the sustain advantage with Nami. You can see Aframu actually going for a pretty good trade there with the heal. And Bjergsen pushing in Huhi already, using the Zillion.
Yep, looking good so far. Huhi, though, should be pretty safe there. Just able to wave quit on the Victor. Is down on the bottom side. Darshan and Haunts are routed, and Darshan absolutely winning that trade.
Yeah, anybody who's got Trundle, you pretty much win every single 1v1 matchup. So Darshan, happy to get his alone time down there with Haunter on the Maokai. Haunter going to try and just make great use of his passive, though. Charge it up and get his autos off for the heals to try and sustain. And you don't want to get pushed too hard under your turrets.
Not yet. It's Svenskeren actually taking this blue. Rek'Sai was in the area, but not going to get it. Darshan and Haunter again just going at it. Great pillar from Darshan to really cut off Haunter's options, but can't quite convert. Smithy, though, he wants this.
Early move trying to punish the duo lane.
Looking for Double Lift, does find him with a knockup, but that's an easy E away.
Yeah, early bubble there from Aframu. You really want to set up the bubble with the unburrow from Rek'Sai, but they were not able to get either of those off. And the gank for Smithy, actually a big waste of time here. The TSM duo lane draws a lot of time away from the CLG jungler. And look at Svenskeren. He jumps out to this CS lead on the jungle. He's a level up on Rek'Sai. Very good news for Graves. So Svenskeren's immediately going to go look to invade Smithy. He'll be a little bit late, though.
Did see Haunter get chunked out, so is forced to use that TP and go back down to the bottom side of the map. Did flash as well. So Darshan is going to have an edge in Summoners, and looks like he might be walking down, although busy in the shop at the moment. Sven and Biofrost though going to go for an invade, and next Smithy just has to sort of stand here and take it. Going to get shot down as well. Shield on.
Neither jungler has smite, so they're not really willing to commit to that.
Huhi barely misses that stun on the gravity field, and nice reaction there from CLG.
And it actually costs Huhi a decent amount of mana. I mean, you have to talk about the mana resource management as far as the mid lane matchup goes, and Victor using that combo might mean that he has to go for an earlier back than expected.
Right now it's just Bjergsen and Huhi back in that mid lane, last hitting away. Again, Zillion going to be just fine. I expect pretty much just wave clear from these two mid laners. Probably won't get too involved. Both do have teleport though, so expect to see the trademark CLG plays there. Second bomb not going to connect, but a bit of damage onto Huhi nonetheless.
Yeah, and everything right now is really going according to TSM plan. They're a little bit ahead in across the board. Pretty much every single position is a few hundred gold or a little bit less ahead of their opponents on CLG's side, and that's exactly what TSM want heading into the mid game when they start spiking with just a couple of items and looking to force those mid game team fights. Svenskeren goes for another invade, but a little bit too slow there.
It was close.
Very
close.
close.
Does get his blue buff. Svenskeren couldn't quite collect that one for himself, and Huhi going to be a lot happier with this situation. Does get stunned though. That's not a good look. But should be just fine there using the death ray and clearing out what he can. Bjergsen though playing up very aggressive here.
Yeah, and look at the pings as well from TSM. They actually have Svenskeren moving in. Bjergsen is level 6 now. He's got ultimate. They can just dive him and go for the...
They are going to go for it. Good flash from Huhi though. Is Sven actually going to make his way in? Damage is down. Bjergsen pops the ulti on himself, and first blood will go to Svenskeren.
Great dive, and they got the teleport out of Darshan. Because Bjergsen used the ultimate on himself a little bit early there, expecting another tower shot. He does have to flash away, but that's exactly what TSM wanted. They're off to the races.
Not done. Double Lift gets aggressive in the top lane, and Stixxay forced to book it. Does have the heal and the flash, but not too safe. And now and jungle. Gets
Right
out.
around the Rosie, Rek'Sai has an unfair advantage in that the Tremor Sense going to allow him to escape with his life very easily. But TSM, very happy to cash in on that first blood, and it is going to be extra damage for them, as it was FLICKR grabbing that. Going to try and get off to a early Warriors with the Graves.
Well, Afro actually able to keep Stixay up, very healthy with the heals, so it looks like everything's okay for now, but you can just see again, TSM able to play aggressive in pretty much every single lane. Bergson did have to flash in mid lane, but that's not too much skin off his nose. Looks like he has gone back already. He does have a Catalyst, so more changes to talk about. Rod of Aid has been an awfully popular mid lane item.
Yep, he's going to build up. Looks like he's going to have a very easy time sustaining in the lane now as well. The changes to Catalyst were pretty interesting. Keep spamming out your bombs. You're using mana. You're going to be gaining that life back. All right, let's see what TSM's next move is going to be, because FLICKR's standing on a ward. So CLG happy to waste his time right now. Afromoon and Stixay don't really change their play much to stay fairly safe. Hanser, I have to say, is doing a magnificent job down in this bottom lane versus the Trundle. I mean, Maokai's not one of the ones that...
This is interesting.
FLICKR's so deep.
Yep, he's just running out. Uses the ulti, all right. Bit of a gap closer.
That's the benefit of having Bjergsen as your mid laner, pushing in constantly Huhi, and having mid lane control. Sven could escape down to the bottom side, and they're going to continue with this invade. They both have Smite. Smite fight here, baby.
Feels like TSM are happy to do this. FLICKR, though, does get the buff. Xmithie not able to claim it. And Bio and Bjergsen both behind him.
All right, so small advantages stacking up here for TSM, leading the way. See if they pull the trigger. The only thing that's sad for TSM, actually, as far as this opening goes, is that the Wind Drake for the Dragon is a little bit less snowbally than the other ones. It still is quite useful, but it's definitely not going to give you that same snowball power. So that's why, even though TSM have this early bit of control, they're looking to exert that control in other player areas on the map right now. If that was an Infernal Drake, obviously, they'd have a little bit different of a game plan. But up top, Doublelift's got a small CS lead for himself. Jungle still holding strong, and Hanser is actually destroying Darshan now with this Maokai matchup.
The early TP seemed to really cost him. You can have it look, he's almost 20 CS ahead. So everyone else is doing nicely there, and TSM are actually up more than 1,000 gold.
Yeah.
Just pretty much from that first bot and some very strong natural landing. Darshan and Haunter at it again, but Darshan is not winning this time.
Yeah, that's why we mentioned, during the gank in mid lane, it's such a big deal not only to have the successful kill, but that teleport, not only is it the teleport cooldown, but it's what he loses in lane. Again, they're focusing Huhi.
Yeah, Huhi gonna get chunked down, and Biofrost gets his first kill. Problem still there for Haunter. Darshan gonna chase him down. Flash is used. Darshan burns the ulti, but cannot connect for a kill.
Looks like they're coming in to try and gain something for themselves.
Flash shielding Smite, not enough. Might be there as they are going to try and get some health back. TP down there as FLICKR's also found his way in. Bjergsen is down in the lane and he's going to take out Xmithie. Bombs enough and he gets the kill.
Walk away explosion there from Bjergsen. Teleports down to clean that one up, and his wave was shoved already, so TSM don't lose out on any minions from the mid lane. Pretty good all around for TSM.
Still up in gold. Now 2,000 is another teleport's going to actually start a play here. Stixay and Afro, a good bubble, does snail onto Haunter, but Stixay rooted down by the Karma Snare, and Stixay is going to get blown into pieces here. Double lift with a kill.
Across the board, TSM claiming their lives. Afromoo actually under the turret though.
Haunter's diving him. He's almost 1v1ing him as Biofrost going to come up as well. Q there, almost gets a snipe, but Afro lives with a sliver of health. Double lift now going to get chased down by Darshan, but he flashes out of the way. Now 2v2 is Haunter and Bio take on Xmithie, but who he moves in, and Darshan takes out Maokai as Biofrost. Gonna get tagged up by the tidal wave. Gravity fields down and Bifrost cannot run. Stunned just on the edge, and Huhi claims a kill.
All right, CLG go a little bit deep past the turret on bottom side, and then TSM do the exact same move on top using that teleport, and CLG getting some much needed gold back into this one. They don't want to let TSM continue snowballing here. The Trundle pick getting right back in it as well. Since Hanser was this time the one to use the teleport early, Darshan's caught right back up on that Trundle. He's got his Tiamat completed, and he's right back on track. See how it started out, though. What a bubble there from Afromoo. Biofrost with a very nice tether on that Karma, by the way, to pick up the Stixay kill. And then this one is just where it went a little bit too long. Hanser, maybe it was him making the call, maybe it was a team call, but a little bit too long. Afromu barely doesn't go down because he's been chugging potions the whole time, but Smithy does a good job getting there on the wreck side. He used the ultimate, by the way, to collapse, and then Huhi also roaming up pretty big for themselves. Afromu, nice ultimate on the Navi to ensure that one.
And just some good cleanup in general. CLG, they managed to get themselves to the top side and claim some much needed kills. Still a little bit behind in gold, but things looking good so far, as we will actually have a check-in with where the champions are up to. Rod of Ages is completed now for Bjergsen as FLICKR getting cheeky, burning that ulti and trying to steal away some jungle camps.
Yeah. Plus, you know, Smithy's gone for that Sightstone, so he has very low combat effectiveness as far as where he's even spending the gold that he does had. On top of that, Svenskaren's 20 CS up on him. So he's definitely not going to be able to take that fight, and Svenskaren doing a good job. He continues to sit in the CLG jungle. He's taking away a couple camps here. TSM continue to press up.
And again, looking aggressive under the turret. Double with Bifrost did manage to take out the top lane turret, so first structure will go to TSM here as well. Looks like it's just going to be a trade as Stix able to take out the bottom side. Not done in the top lane though. So Sean going to try and answer this as best he can. Does have Rek'Sai in the back pocket, but again, TSM is continuing to play forward in every single lane.
Yeah, and Doublelift's about to complete his Ghost Blade as well on the Lucian, giving him that flat armor penetration. Before anybody on CLG really building armor, Smithy the only one with the Ninja boot. So,
Sean actually getting 1v2. Dub pop the ulti, but Doublelift's just going to shut him down. He's going to get the kill there.
We didn't get to see it, but a big play there from the TSM duo lane, and Biofrost is having a very good inaugural LCS game.
Well, looking good so far. Has 1 kill under his belt. We'll see if he can get any more, as we're going to see how this one all starts.
He's baiting here. Classic. Genius Biofrost. What a player. But it actually worked out.
Stuns everywhere as Bjergsen actually been ulted up by Victor. Quick cut back, and Bjergsen still with the ultimate is actually going to be okay.
All right, so a little bit of excitement there. But yeah, Biofrost on the top side actually did bait in Darshan. And then we saw at the very tail end of that replay, Doublelift was just waiting in the tri-bush. So they were able to draw Darshan over to the scary dark brush and then take him out. So another kill for the AD carry here, and that's 2 for Doublelift.
It's been a good start to the lane so far. Stix is actually keeping up NCS now. As Svenskaren able to donate yet another blue, I have to think. Bjergsen is going to rotate over and take it. Fen will just make sure he doesn't get the...
Yeah. Gotta be careful there. The shotgun, the wide spray, and he does have red buff as well. That could tick, but Bjergsen's able to get that one. And this is what we're talking about. The mid-game, TSM already had the big lead. This is exactly what they want to do, is try and take out the rest of the outer line of turrets so they can start moving up that ward line. They should actually consider taking the Windrake a little bit earlier than you would think, so that they can actually just get the next dragon to spawn and start stacking them up, because they should have a lot of neutral objective control in this game with the lead that they have. And the final dragon, if it does end up going late game, if CLG aren't hold.
Mistake from Afro, but does heal it off. Got snared under the turret in a 2v1. Haunter able to hold his ground there so far. Mid turret, of course, does go down, so TSM's lead jumps out to 4,000 gold now. And almost 15 minutes into this one, looks like we might be moving down towards the bottom side, but CLG really looking for more outers. Gonna try and bully Haunter off this lane and try and take another turret. We'll see if TSM look to make a trade.
Trading here for CLG is actually pretty good, since they are behind. They don't want to go for the fights at this stage in the game. Just try and trade some money here. Outer turrets will be traded. It looks like the jungles as well. Svenskaren moving in to get some counter jungling in and extend his little lead over Smithy.
Right now, it is just going to be a trade. Doublelift able to take out this tower with the help of Bifrost. CLG commit quite a few people in the top lane to take it out. But looks like, again, we'll just have quite a number of towers going down. In fact, CLG not done. Haunter might need a bit more help now. Good borrow there from Xmith. He gets him out from under the turret. But CLG not done just yet.
Yeah, Haunter is going to be able to hold here. Bjergsen joining him now, and Svenskaren even, so some damage is going to be committed to this CLG push as they exit here. Now they actually have to worry about this counter push, and Doublelift and Biofrost move away very quickly with that Karma speed up. So good coordination here, and it does look like TSM's communication pretty clean this game.
I like this. Smithy actually going to get jumped on. Tries to smite and run away. He does borrow the safety, but this blue buff probably belongs to TSM now. Don't think Bjergsen's in the area to collect it, but Spen's just going to move over. No smite, but not needed.
Yeah.
Does get a Lucian.
Yep, want to top off his cooldown reduction. Double Lift is definitely being set up to succeed here in the mid-game team fights, and there does go the Wind Drake.
Might as well take it in the correct area of the map. So again, once a couple of towers fade, there we are.
So I mean, yeah, a lot of people have been hating on the Wind Drake and the Ocean Drake, but this is actually going to add some map control here for TSM because they've just opened up the map. You know, all the outer turrets are down, and this is the stage where they're going to try and force things. You know, this is actually going to be an enabling Drake for them to give them a bit more speed to try and answer these mid-game pushes.
Well, we've got a pretty wide open side of the map now, so speed's certainly going to help. As Bjergsen having a wander over to the Rift Herald, but doesn't go complete on the investigation. Haunter maybe feeling a little vulnerable there, all alone on his top side of the map, but Bifrost actually there as well. Just going to get some vision around the neutral area. And again, TSM, plan has not changed for the last 10 minutes or so. Play up and be aggressive as early and as often as possible. And they're still finding themselves with a pretty decent lead here. Most importantly, they've got the mid out already. CLG with a little less room to move.
Yeah, I think TSM just going to work on moving up the ward line, as we said. And they actually, this could be a game where we do see a Rift Herald taken because TSM do have, you know, such strong control at the moment. Normally, though, Rift Herald, it takes so long to kill that you might be giving... Oh, who he actually is. Been surrounded here. He is going to have a rough time getting away from this one.
Bad news, he flashes and Spencer's taking damage, but they're just going to pour all the ultis down, and Double Lift going to get himself another kill.
Yeah, you have to be so careful when you're behind like this as CLG, and they do not have the necessary precaution there. TSM already in place, the duo there, Double Lift and Biofrost doing work. That's going to be another turret for TSM as well.
Yeah, this is easy with 280 carries. Sven, Double Lift, and Biofrost all teaming up, and that just gets shredded down. In fact, they're not even done. They'll push one more wave in before backing away from the area. 4-2 up now in turrets for TSM, and that gold lead keeps rolling.
Yeah, game number 1 here. First game of the season. TSM feel pretty good starting it off on the right foot. They want some vengeance for the finals of last split. Doing a pretty good job of getting it right now.
Certainly on the right track, as once again, this is just going to keep happening. Bifrost babysitting Double Lift here as he tries to take the red buff away. From his with stick stake, Smithy goes in, 3v4, so he's on the back end. Sven going to get knocked up, but they'll get out of it. Looks like red did go over to CLG as Afro's forced to flash. Bjergsen roamed in to reinforce. Team fight over, I think. Sven not tagged there.
Yeah, misses that one, so no slow landing. TSM can walk away fairly easily. These double speed boosts from TSM are enabling to make these surgical invades here with, you know, Bjergsen speeding in, and then Biofrost speeding everybody out with the shield and AoE speed. Very good control so far.
Haunter and Darshan having a fight over the big frog. Not too sure who got it, but Haunter again continuing to hold his ground. Still up a significant amount of CS actually, so looking good there versus Darshan. And Bjergsen's just not leaving this mid lane. It is so hard for CLG to take this turret, and instead they might just settle for a blue buff.
Spencer gonna look to smite it.
Nope. Denied again as Sven does take it. Stixay now actually tethered up. Good flash from Bifrost, gets very aggressive, and Double Lift moves in and Bjergsen gets one.
That's a huge mistake, actually. Now CLG on the run, and Smithy's gonna have to flash as well.
Spencer looking for it, doesn't want to get bubbled by Afro, tries to juke back, but now gonna tag him. Afro taking a boatload of damage as Tidal Wave moves in. Cheryl's gone away, but Smithy's chasing Sven. The TP's used him for Darshan, but TSM will just kite back. Smithy is not that tanky.
And this whole time, Haunter is pushing bottom as well. So the teleport there used from Darshan, CLG's teleport advantage that they had for a few seconds there is gone now. And Haunter happy to extend his CS lead here.
It's a very steady snowball for TSM, and they're up almost 7,000 gold at this
top.
stage.
There's a mid lane mage right next to him, but we'll find out the end of that story later. Ah, here it is!
Double Lift can do it. Afro moves there as well. Exhaust is down. Double Lift gonna go for the big play, but he gets shut down by Huhi.
Yeah, there's a Victor waiting in the bush. That's a very ominous entry to that replay, and Double Lift does end up paying for it as we exit here. So that's very good news for CLG because they need everything that they can get to try and get back into this game right now. They're gonna try and wave clear, you know, use the Ezreal and the Victor, try and hold on. They need to play a lot safer, focus on their defensive vision. They can't afford for people to extend in lanes and get picked off anymore. But Huhi does make a play right there. A little sneak attack from the brush to get them a tiny bit of gold.
Yep.
TSM still significantly in the lead, though.
Good goal for him, certainly, as he does have a Rylai's and, I believe, 2 upgrades of the Hex Core completed. So looking pretty strong there. On the other side, though, Morello Nomicon, Rod Evaders, and a blasting onto boot with CDR boots. Bjergsen is just unrelenting in his mid lane. And Stixxay, he wants to do damage to the tower, but Bjergsen's like, nah.
It's going to be so hard for Stixxay because Ezreal is skill shot based champion, and Maokai makes it very easy for Hanser, who has had a great Maokai game. Even though he's died twice, his CS is right up there. So he's feeling very confident about standing on the front line. All he has to do is stand in front of the Ezreal, and then it's only the damage over time from Huhi that TSM have to worry about in the team fight, and they've got a revive. They've got an AoE shield, which is going to help with that team fight. So TSM definitely holding a lot of the cards. Huhi again gets taken out on the bottom side. Let's see what TSM go for after this. Pressure on the siege here. Dragon is coming up in 28 seconds, so they should be able to get that one before Huhi comes back up. Huhi does have teleport, so maybe CLG go for a very desperate play, but I don't really see that happening. I think they would rather make the call just to hold on to their turrets that they have left to try and CS and let TSM stack another Dragon.
Svenskeren happy to play aggressive. Red buff Graves, not messing around. Stun not there for Bjergsen on the bombs, but he will get the pressure they need. Top lane is stranded right now without TP as TSM take another turret there. In fact, maybe even one more. Afromu thinking about something here. TSM just going to keep pushing.
Yeah, the Nami Rek'Sai not threatening at all. There's the teleport, but it's... Oh, they get a little bit of a slow on Svenskeren. Let's see how... Nope, Karma speed up.
Pretty good. And CLG going to try and counter push here, but Haunts has already made his way to mid lane. Bjergsen looking for a stun, but doesn't land it. Poke onto Haunts is looking good. Bjergsen actually maybe a little caught out of position. CLG trying to force something here. Ulti used by Victor, but it's not enough. Now Darshan's going to get locked up, and Double is just going to fire away into the front line. Torsa, Haunts are going to flash out to safety.
Oh, Double Lift goes in for the kill, and they're on the chase.
Does get it there onto Huhi, but Stixxay now going to get chased down as well. And TSM said the one kill they need. Double Lift still wants more.
So much speed. Ghostblood active into the Black Cleaver procs with the Zillion and the Karma speed ups. Double Lift is so incredibly quick. He can chase really well. And this is a very fortunate Dragon for TSM because it enables them to melt the Baron. Plus the remaining turrets here. So best, end game Dragon, basically, the Earth Dragon. For ending that, basically gives you a lot easier time taking out any of the objectives. Let's take another look at this team fight. Remember how far CLG are down in gold at this point. They try and fight it though. Double is shredding armor on the entire CLG squad and then goes right in there. Full health plus the double speed ups. And right now, CLG starting to think about the next game in the series, actually.
Yeah, and that's a disgusting amount of Q damage from Lucian. Now is a Phantom Dancer completed. So 3 items done now for the Lucian. Where Stixxay is struggling to put together that Blade of the Ruin King as his next item. Double Lift definitely enabled here in this particular game, and TSM not going anywhere anytime soon. 7,500 gold up already, and maybe looking to Baron next.
Yeah, honestly, TSM haven't displayed really any weaknesses in this game. Double Lift and Biofrost seem like they're working really well together up in that top side. It's kind of nice, sometimes to be able to mold a new player who's just very willing to take any sort of advice that you have and have them play the way that you want to play. And that's kind of the route that TSM has been taking with Biofrost. He went through very extensive tryouts with the team. He's been playing with the team for a really long time. If we consider substitute players for past substitutions for a lot of teams, sometimes we start and we're like, oh, there's going to be some time gelling. Maybe he'll fit in, maybe he won't. But Biofrost has been playing with the team for a very long time and traveling with the team, which also helps out just in the social aspect, right?
Yeah, feels like Biofrost has been well integrated into the team so far, having a great first game here with Double Lift, who's once again back to his old self. Darshan, no quarters, Haunter snares him up, and Double Lift just firing away. Darshan, you have no real armor, and Double Lift, his 6th kill now of the game.
All right, they've got True Side on the Baron as well. They've got an Earth Dragon. TSM feel pretty confident about heading up towards that side of the map. CLG also know this is coming, so Smithy sneaks in, takes out the pink ward, but that is going to be a very small victory for them.
Ooh, not quite there. Blue buff is going to go down though. Sven's just going to walk it off, and Blue is going to go over to Bjergsen from that bomb. Certainly know that TSM with the Dragon down are looking to take that Baron away and try and close this game out. Could be an awfully quick one, honestly, as TSM have really snowballed up aggressively. And again, just look at the items. I mean, CLG do have some items here, but everyone on TSM is at least an item, if not more, ahead.
Yeah. Keep in mind, one of the main reasons why people enjoy TSM CLG. Uh-oh. You're actually going in with the double speed, and nothing will come of it. Bomb disappears in the ledge there.
Stixxay able to keep himself safe. Not going to eat any bombs, actually. Doing a nice job dodging them away. Kind of saw the issues before with the Maokai, though. Ezreal can get locked down quite easily. It's Svenskeren face tanking Xmithy and friends for the rest of TSM there to reinforce.
Yeah, pretty hard for CLG to blow anyone up, even if they do catch them in their own jungle, because they don't really have that much burst damage. Smithy is full tank Rek'Sai. He's adding very, very little damage. Just the slow burn there from Cinderhulk, which did get buffed, but only by a few damage per second.
You're going to be there for a while.
Yeah,
but kill
exactly.
someone with Cinderhulk burn.
And Victor, you know, he's a little bit more damage over time oriented now as well. So CLG, they really would have to have more punch, you know, more surprise damage in their team if we were to give them better odds at coming back from a surprise play. As of right now, they're kind of just looking for a mistake, an unforced error from TSM to try and capitalize on.
TSM usually a team that when they get ahead are quite good at closing out. In fact, they're continuing to hide in some brushes here. There's 3 members of TSM hanging out, hoping that Darshan takes the bait once again.
That being said, this is one of the things that people are going to be looking at this new TSM squad very closely with, is the end game shot calling. How do they end out games? Because they've been able to earn this very significant early game lead, and they've got a lot to work with here. But will they be able to bait in for the team fight? Can they, you know, control Baron long enough and try and capitalize on the advantage that they do have right now? Haunter has teleport, so a Maokai teleport to the back line to lock someone from CLG in. If CLG stray out past their turrets, that is an option for them. They've got the double speed ups for the Maokai, but really it does all center around Haunter, Twisted Advance, catching somebody from CLG.
Well, TSM looking to get some important recalls in with Dragon back up in a minute 25. It is Ocean Drake that will be the next one, but probably something that TSM want to take just to sort of move things along.
Yeah, I mean, it does add more damage to the Dragon, the endgame Dragon, if just for every single Drake, no matter what type of Drake it is that you get earlier in the game. Ocean Drake is definitely extremely powerful early on the game, but right now it's definitely fallen off. Last secondary turret goes down here for TSM, and I do expect them to try for some Baron baits here. They're working on controlling the vision game around the backside of Baron Pit, and they're putting Haunter in position down on the bottom side. No start this off, but they should also be able to tank this Baron pretty easily. I mean, they've got that renewable shield. But again, yeah, they're looking for picks. Without the Maokai, though, I don't really see it happening. Like I said, it has to be speed-ups on the Maokai did for the Twist Advance to pick someone off if you're baiting. And with them holding bottom, I think the CLG are actually okay playing out like this.
Zooming in, but pretty hard to lock down someone like Stixxay with a bunch of bomb skill shots from Cillian.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like 20 seconds up for that Dragon. TSM might wait it out just to make sure Elder Dragon spawns after this one. I think at this point will be the next Dragon spawn once this one gets taken. Baron, though, certainly where they want to be. You can see CLG actually doing a good job keeping vision of the area.
Yeah, they're trying to get in there every chance they get, every time they see the recalls, because that's one thing. If this TSM squad then gets Baron buff, suddenly,
whoa!
Here goes CLG, gonna try and rush it!
Big call there, actually. No one from TSM really there just yet. TP's being used mid to
TSM
try and
smell
rush
it.
there. I think they have some idea. The ward's got
And
knocked
they
down,
see
but
it.
yeah, they know. Bjergsen now going to fire some bombs in. Xmithy going to get stunned and chunked. Double is actually looking to take a Hui. Flashes forward, but gets himself exhausted. Slowed out by the Riders as the tidal wave will zone them, but Darshan, caught up to the left side out of the pit, is going to get chased by TSM. CLG need to regroup here.
Renewable speeds for TSM. They should be able to catch him.
Yeah, Darshan locked down, a double lift takes him out. Now they're going to fight the 5v4. Stixxay locked down there by the Maokai. Svenskeren chasing out the other jungler. Stixxay getting chunked. They'll be able to take him down.
This is going to be game number 1 here. TSM going to grab this Baron buff. They'll show right in and take some inhibitors. Very, very strong performance from this TSM squad coming out. Game number 1, first of the entire split.
We'll see if the game ends at this point, but Baron for TSM is going to do a lot of damage, even if the game doesn't end. TSM well and truly in the lead now. Over 10,000 gold up in the lead. Everyone is looking good, and these structures are going to start to melt.
Yeah, the revive timers are pretty short, so CLG might be able to hold on to their Nexus, but at least losing Inhibitor here, and maybe TSM even stick around and buff up these minions to keep poking at it.
Going to play safe, though. Just take out the mid Inhibitor. Actually might even fall back to Dragon again, get the Elder Dragon on the board, just as another way that they can get themselves through this late game. TSM just have all the options in front of them. They will wander down and take this Ocean Drake. CLG really far behind at this point.
Yeah, it's such a secure hold here for TSM. I think that they really want to be able to use this Baron buff for another inhibitor push to crack open another one. But there it is, Double F going so far. He's got the extra shields there. They keep him healthy, and CLG are split, so there's not going to be any escaping this TSM squad if CLG do start, a team fight, if they do get caught here in Baron, because of the constant speed ups from the Zillion, and Maokai easily able to keep track of a couple of members there. But yeah, that's going to be, taking this time now, CLG, they're definitely not out of this. This is the switch to the best of 3, so they've got the next game in this series to start thinking about. They don't want to give all winning lanes over to TSM. And even Maokai lane, that's not actually a winning lane for them. CLG were actually kind of counting on Darshan earning an advantage there in that 1 versus 1.
And we saw early he was able to. Definitely winning those early trades, but that TP maybe costing the lane a bit there. There's damage onto Xmithy. They're just going to go for this turret. Haunter is face tanking that laser, and now they'll jump in onto Xmithy. He's locked down. He's actually been chunked pretty hard, but Haunter just will not be moved from this front line.
The everlasting tree there, Haunter, and they're going to use this minion wave, actually, is buffed up by the Baron. Take down these Nexus turrets!
This could be the closer here. Nice bubble from Afromir, but very nice from Bjergsen, locking a few down. Bjergsen actually does get one. As sticks they will fall. These turrets are going to mount, and TSM will claim the first game of this best of 3.
Great start for them.
You can hear the crowd. People always love chanting TSM. It's probably even sweeter when they win. That was a very convincing game number 1. Like you said, CLG will have an opportunity to bounce back here, but that looked very clean.
Oh yes, it definitely did. Small advantages early for every person on TSM pretty much. And they were able to keep that up the entire game. Huhi actually from CLG is the one I'm going to be looking at because he got caught out a lot. If we move past the early game problems of CLG, they did have, it looks like they were a little bit discombobulated there in the mid lane, not really able to play defensively and control their own vision.
A few good team fights there for TSM, but it really just felt like, for the most part, strong individual play, strong laning, and just aggression sort of got them there. They only really needed to win 1 or 2 fights to sort of seal that game up, it felt like.
Yeah, the double speed comp there from TSM. They were building around this mid game. They got an early lead and pushed right through with it.
Well, certainly looking good. And now let's check in with Dash and the analyst for more on that game.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Game 1 of our series here between CLG and TSM going to the side of TSM. They're going to be very happy picking up that victory, as we mentioned, having lost that 5-game series in the finals.
But they haven't won yet because we're playing a best of 3.
Exactly. Whoa. We're gonna get at least one more game out of these two teams. Now, given that, I do want to dive into this one, kind of break it down a little bit, starting with champion select. I know Kobe leading in was talking about, I'm very excited to see what Bjergsen decides to bring out in the mid lane, given the fact that there were those mage changes and there's a lot of new options. And he opts into Zillion.
Yeah, and I think it ended up swinging the game that he did that, because when you looked at the way the draft played out with the Lucian going on one side, that's generally going to be a winning lane for CLG, and then Trundle versus Maokai in the top lane, it's really that matchup, Zillion versus Victor, and the fact that Bjergsen was able to push in Huhi so easily on that, I won't just say that, like, oh yeah, they had the counter pick. I'm just going to say they picked a champion that Bjergsen crushed on,
right,
and that gave them 2 winning lanes, which allowed them to take over the map.
Yeah, and I think this is something that TSM will run if they get that Lucian locked in the first round. They'll pick it later on because it really enables him. It's all about that movement speed and having that Lucian be incredibly slippery, because a lot of his kit with the 500 range is supposed to be diving in and out, and with that movement speed from all those sources, he's able to do that so easily.
Yeah, along with Yomu's active and his own dashing abilities. Along with that, we saw some mainstays on the bans list in the Kindred, the Nidalee, the Rise, and the Echo, the likes of that. But we see, of course, the Vladimir and the Zed come through. So again, focusing bans towards the mid lane, possibly into the top lane against Darshan with that Vladimir. But just beginning to watch this meta develop and see how the teams are kind of sussing out the power of different champions. That doesn't mean that we don't still have Battle of the Tanks in the top lane between Maokai and Trundle.
If I had to make a guess, I'd actually say the Vladimir ban was against Huhi. Huhi seems like the type of guy who picks up champions very quickly, and at least in the European LCS, Vladimir was either banned or picked mid lane fairly frequently, even though it wasn't seen very much over in Korea. So I think there was some scrim champions that just worked really well, and Vladimir was one of those. So I think it's going to be a relatively strong mid lane pick, and I'd expect TSM to actually keep that Vladimir ban on the other side to stop Huhi, since they're able to exploit him so easily on a meta champ like Victor.
Yeah, and just random aside, Vladimir in the mid lane doesn't always have to run TP. He can run the new Ghost now, and that's incredibly potent as well, which is another plus to having him in the mid lane.
Absolutely. Moving ourselves ahead into the game, I want to hit a big point that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about. I want to get your thoughts on Biofrost in his LCS debut.
I love him, right? So I cast this guy in Challenger, and it seems like he's been groomed into a very aggressive style here. The thing with Doublelift is he loves to win the lane. And that's what kind of went back and forth with him and Yellowstar. Yellowstar wants to roam and win the game in other lanes. Biofrost picks Karma, and they're immediately shoving in. They're running to other sides of the map as a group. He's basically attaching himself to somebody as Karma and speeding them both up, getting them in there, making aggressive plays to root people. And Biofrost looks like he fits right in with the new bully mentality that TSM have. We're seeing FLICKR bully. We're seeing every lane just take it to the enemy, and I think he's going to be a great fit if they keep that style.
Yeah, that was about the best debut game he could have had. We'll see how he plays in the rest of the series. They won lane against Aphromoo and Stixxay, who were bullying a lot of people at MSI, and that was with a Nami pick on the other side. So they obviously did have a bit of an advantage with Lucian, but time for the excuse train, choo-choo. CLG had less time to adapt to the patch than any other team in North America. And Kobe even mentioned in the pregame that it's going to take some time for CLG to reach back and be at the same level on this patch and other teams. We'll still see. Maybe they come back in the next game.
Right, yeah. We you know, just one game. We're not going to condemn them to anything just yet.
Outlandish claims off of one game.
But now I want to dive into a little bit about how TSM seemed to approach this game. Jack, you already hit on it with the Zillion. We saw a lot of pushing power in that mid lane, which opened up FLICKR to make work happen around the map, both in invading as well as those early dives in the mid lane, picking up 2 kills on Huhi, both from him, and then with the bot lane roaming down and executing another turret dive as well.
Yeah, and the first blood, even though FLICKR came in at the end, was really all about Bjergsen. He hits level 6 first, he puts the lane in the right position, and they then completely trap Huhi in his turret. The double bomb makes Huhi actually flash forward. He should have flashed backwards, actually, because then I think he might have had a chance of staying alive. And then this kill actually won multiple lanes for them, because previously they'd already had an advantage bottom lane, but the teleport hurts. And then Huhi already has without summoners, and Bjergsen again just easily shoves up, and they get yet another kill on him, as well as Biofrost's first kill officially in the LCS. So
there you have it.
Where are the MIA pings, bro? Everybody's here.
Why is your lane?
But that's the thing I think TSM were going towards, right? FLICKR gets to push up because Bjergsen pushed up. They actually adopted that in the playoffs, and that's what worked so well for them and got them to the finals. And Biofrost fits in with that. And this is something that they should just keep doing if they're able to do it. Just let Bjergsen play through that lane, show up at the weak point, because they're constantly testing. As soon as something shows that it's going to bend a little bit, they're just going to go back to that lane. And I think that's how they should play it throughout the series.
Well, the likes of Biofrost and Bjergsen on those supporty type champions in Karma and Zillion definitely allowed Doublelift to kind of run rampant through the rest of the game. That's going to bring us to our player of the game. Our first player of the game here in NA is Doublelift for executing on that Lucian with the rest of the team behind him.
Yeah, you look at his damage he did in that game, it's absolutely insane. Obviously, he was the enabled damage dealer for them. Playing with a rookie support against Aphromoo and Stixxay, who is a great dual lane, is very impressive. I think multiple people on TSM played great this game. To me, Bjergsen was very close to getting player of the game, but well-deserved for Doublelift here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then, real quickly, before we head to commercial, I want to get your thoughts on Game 2 of this series. Given the fact that CLG takes a little bit of a slap in the face here in Game 1, getting knocked down a peg, how do they bounce back? You know, who specifically, in terms of players, are we looking at on that roster to kind of step up in Game 2?
I really think that Stixxay needs to go back to his MSI form. I think that Aphromoo as well needs to go back there and actually play some bullies and actually get some roaming potential going, because they were stuck in lane. Everybody's showing up there, but Huhi just needs to play safe too.
CLG will get first pick. Safe. If TSM does a ban Lucian, they can give Stixxay to Lucian. That'll give him a bit of an edge. And Huhi just needs to play better. He can't get dominated like he did that last game.
All right, well, the teams will swap sides. We'll see what they bring out onto the table in Game 2. TSM winning there in a statement game. After the break, we'll see if CLG can make the right adjustments to pull it back and force a Game 3. There's more League coming right up. See you in a minute. fight for worlds is on. The North American LCS Summer Split starts right now.
They are going to go for it. Good flash from Huhi, though. Is Sven actually going to make his way in? Damage is down. Bjergsen pops the ulti on himself. Takes out Maokai as Bifrost. Oh, get tagged up by the tidal wave. Gravity fields down and Bifrost cannot run. Stunned just on the edge and Huhi claims a kill. Dixie now actually tethered up. Good flash from Bifrost. Gets very aggressive. And Double Lift moves in and Bjergsen gets one.
Oh, Double Lift goes in for the kill and they're on the chase.
Dixie getting chunked. They'll be able to take him down. TSM will claim the first game of this best of 3.